Hi friends, today I'm going to tell you a scary story about some girls who wanted to get some adrenaline in their blood. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. And here we go, believe it or not, it really happened. My girlfriends and I decided to add adrenaline in the blood, and, what can I say? We did. But in what way? To begin with, week 5 teenage girls aged 11 to 16 years old decided to sit under the windows of the old half-destroyed mental hospital. It was around 8 p.m. On the clock. So we sat there for a while. Suddenly some guy came up to us and offered to take us there. The girls immediately agreed. But what should I do? I went with them. We went into the building. The paint on the walls was peeling, there were blood stains all around, and the lighting was dim. It was like a nightmare. When the rooms with the sick appeared down the corridor, there were little bars on the doors. The psychos, as soon as they heard us, started throwing themselves at the door. Yelling and cursing at us. It was scary. The guy led us to the dining room, where, he explained, the non-hazardous psychotic patients were eating lunch. We went in with him and sat down at the table. There were about 15 people sitting at the table. They were having their usual conversation about the weather. We didn't feel very comfortable, so we asked to leave. Suddenly, the oldest woman stood up and said, "Girls, do you really think we're going to let go of our dessert?" Came rushing at us from all sides. We yelled and swore and fought back with cutlery. We managed to kill these cannibals, and we ran hysterically out the door. A nurse was walking nearby. We told her everything and asked her to escort us out of the asylum. But she said we had to pass a test first. The last thing I remember was that she injected us with medicine and we passed out. We woke up in a small room, sitting on chairs, tied up with ropes. The same nurse came in. With her was one of the patients who had been throwing himself at us. She began to cut off pieces of flesh and feed them to my friend. Suddenly, I remembered a prayer and began to recite it. The nurse yelled in an alien voice, and then everything disappeared. We were sitting on the same bench outside the hospital. The rope marks on our bodies showed that what had happened to us was true. We turned around to look at the asylum and froze with horror. The asylum was abandoned and, as it seemed, no one had set foot there in 20 years. Nearby was a row of graves, among which we found the grave of the same guy and all those who were sitting in the canteen. We ran out of there screaming. We didn't need any more thrills. If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe and like it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
The Beast in the Road. This story was told to me by a man from down the street. He and I are both dog people, and he's also a canine expert. I often consult him on matters of interest to me. So one evening we met on the road, accompanied by our dogs. After talking about household chores, we turned onto a street parallel to mine. Looking closely at the side of his dog, a Staffordshire Terrier, I saw deep cuts. All of Lord's left side was green. I asked Alexei about the origin of these wounds. Here he told me the following. "You see," he said, "some nonsense happened to me and Lord yesterday. I was so ears open, I waited for the rest of the story. Before I went to bed, I took Lord for a walk. I was walking along the street, and I saw something crawl out of the bushes and run across the road. I couldn't see what it was, because the street light had burned out and couldn't be replaced for a month. The thing was about the size of a large dog, but the shape of its head seemed strange to me. You know, like a rat or something. Here Lord barked and growled. I would have thought it was a dog, but suddenly the bugger stopped and hissed. The hissing was replaced by some kind of guttural clatter. Then it got up, stood on its hind legs, and turned toward us. I was, frankly, confused as it staggered toward us. Lord started to let go of his leash, preparing to attack. I had no choice as it approached us faster and faster, so I let Lord go. Lord lunged at the thing, and it didn't even think about retreating. It was still bellowing and hissing, and it was coming toward us. Then the fight started. Lord must have gotten a good grip on the thing, and it started squealing and guttural gurgling. Then she shook Lord off and jumped on him. They formed a clump of two bodies. It alternated between Lord's shrieks of pain and this thing's squealing. Taking the stone, I ran to the site of the duel. They parted shortly before I arrived and threw a heavy piece of brick at the thing. I must have hit it right in the head. The creature squealed, spotted me, and ran into the bushes. On the approach to the fence behind the bushes, Lord caught up with the thing and must have torn it down there. When I skidded into the bushes, I saw Lord looking at the area behind the fence. The fence was just being repaired there, and part of the sector was missing. Lord didn't go after the thing, which I was glad he did. When I got home, I treated Lord's deep lacerations. It was a good thing I'd had time to inoculate him recently. If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe and like it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.